Okay guys, as you can see, we got soaking wet conditions here in southeast Ohio. Bad time to try to start fire. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to use a method called flint and steel. We're not going to use a ferrocerium rod. We're not going to use an accelerant. We're going to use the available material around us to make a bird nest, and we're going to make our fire with flint and steel, which has been a very effective way to start fire since medieval times. You just have to understand a few key concepts of flint and steel to make a fire with marginal materials like this effective, and that is you have to understand what you have for char. You can use thin materials like cottons to make char, or you can use thicker materials to make char. The heavier piece of char you have and the longer that coal will last you, the better off you're going to be with marginal material. So if your char cloth is made from a bed sheet, that char cloth is not going to last for a very long time. If your char is made from some type of plant material, like a cattail head and things like that, it will last longer. What I choose to use a lot of times to make char with is just lamp wick material, which is just a cotton material that's interwoven for lamp wicks, for oil lamps, and you can buy it, about 3 foot of it for $1 at just about any discount store. And then you can char that into pieces, and I'll show you that in a minute what that looks like, and that will hold a coal for a long period of time. Now when you have marginal materials, you might have to use a bigger piece of char cloth. You have to conserve your resources, but you also have to understand that if you have to do the same thing over and over and over again because you were too sparing with your resources, then that burns calories and energy. It burns more resources in the long run of you going back out to collect things that you shouldn't have had to do because you should have done it right the first time. So what we're going to do first is we're going to collect a bird nest, and this whole area is soaking wet right here, but anything that's above the water line and is in the breeze is going to be fairly dry, so that's what we're going to be looking for. So let's take a walk around real quick and see what we can find. Okay, one of the first things I'm going to be looking for, and you can hear this ground sloshing under my feet, but you see these dried flower tops right here above the water line. This stuff that's all dry right here, there's a few stickers in there, but this stuff is good. Once you get down so far, you're going to feel moisture. You don't want that. You only want this stuff that's at the top. Feel it. If it's got some moisture in it, pull those pieces out. Only take the pieces that are good and dry because that's what you really want. The rest of it, leave. But stuff like this will make a good bird nest. And like I said, just stay above the wet line when you're collecting this stuff. Here's some more right here that we can use. Those are good flower tops. And here's some more right here that are good. All this old gravel root right here will make a good tinder bundle. That right there in itself is enough to make a good fire, or at least to give me flame. The key is to make sure that I've got my fire bed set up and ready so that I can use this to start a fire. So now let's get us a piece of char cloth in here, and we're not going to worry about building the fire. We've done that in other videos. What I want to show you is that even in soaking wet conditions, you can find things to make a suitable bird nest, and with flint and steel and the right char, you can make a fire. Okay guys, I'm going to get up on top of a mound here right in front of me. That's fairly dry. I'm going to set this bird nest on top of that for a minute. I'm going to get close up to this thing and show you exactly what I'm doing. Okay, you can hear all this ground around me is soaking wet. A big pile of deer poop right here, it looks like. It might be rabbit actually. Nice game trail. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get out our fire kit. Okay, and what I generally will carry, we've went over before, the fire kit that I showed you at the beginning of the 21st Century Longhunter series. So I've got that same fire kit with me now. I also have a fire steel right here with a piece of chert inside the leather pouch. Okay, or a fire striker. Some people call fire steels ferro rods. This is what I would call a fire steel, would be something like this. Okay, a hand forged out of a file striker. Let's look at it, make sure it's throwing some good sparks. Oh yeah, no problem. Good, good. Okay, so we'll set that off to the side for a minute on another dry patch of ground. Now inside of our fire kit, I have some charred lamp wick. And what that stuff looks like, I'm just going to pull one out of here. I don't even need that whole thing, but this is the important part, is judging how much of this you actually need. I've got a piece here that's fairly long. I'm going to use about a third of it. But it's nice thick material. So it's going to give me an ember for a long period of time, and that's what's the key when you have marginal tinder sources, or you have things that are marginally wet. You need to make sure that you have enough of an ember to last you for a little while to get that thing going. So let's get all of our fire stuff put back, except what we absolutely need, because we don't want anything falling into the water here. We have a lot of water around us. So what you can do now is you can just take that steel and just strike right over the top of that material. Boom, there it is. I can see it glowing. Let me pull it out of here for you. I think you can see that ember burning on there. Now that's going to burn for a good long time, so I'll put that in my bird nest. And I've got a couple minutes here, but I want to get my stuff put away so that nothing gets wet that doesn't need to get wet. I'll just put that in my pocket for the moment so I know it's nice and dry. Then I'll get my nest going here. And now it's just a matter of blowing this to life. Let's get this camera picked up a little bit here, we can see. There we go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the wind, get that to our back. You can see that glowing in there really good. Let's see if I can get this over the shoulder type thing going here. You should be able to see that glowing in there, I think. There we go, guys. Even in wet weather conditions, you can still get fire if you have the right char. Have patience, build yourself a decent bird nest. It doesn't take that long to do. That was pretty simple. Alright. Now you can see by putting that up on top of that dry tuft of grass, I'm going to get some benefit from that if I were building a fire. Fire's not going to spread anywhere, guys. I mean, it's surrounded by water. Okay? But it gives me a little added benefit if I were building a fire. I can use that dry grass on top of that tuft right there to help my fire along if I were actually building a fire right now. Alright, we all got the point. Let's stomp this out. Like I said, there's plenty of wet material right here because it's a solid mud hole. Put that fire out. Okay, so remember that the key to a flint and steel fire in less than optimal conditions is really the bird nest that you choose and the char material that you use to start your bird nest or ignite your bird nest, okay? And that lamp wick is pretty thick material. It's probably an eighth of an inch thick and a half an inch wide. And I used a piece of it probably an inch and a half long. So you've got a lot of burnability there to build heat inside of a bundle that might be marginal. Get your tinder from up above waterline where the breeze has blown through there and dried it out. Dead weeds, dead grasses, things like that are all great. Think about what a bird nest looks like in a tree. That'll tell you how to build it. You want fine, medium, and coarse material in that bird nest, and then get a good ember in there that will last for a little while so that you give it time. You know, fire has to be nurtured into life. Give it time to build up heat inside that bundle, and eventually it'll dry out any marginal material that you have, and it will combust into flame, and that's what you need. So even in a marginal situation like this, flint and steel is a very viable option. It always has been. And for the 21st Century Longhunter series, I think it's important to understand the concepts of flint and steel, because that helps you to further understand how much better or how much more appreciative you should be of a ferrocerium rod. So with that said, I thank you very much for your views. I thank you very much for your support. I thank you for the money that you spend on my website and the support that you give to me and my family. I thank you very much for all of those things, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thank you.